welcome to the Tolleson-Mack podcast. We're live in the studio. We don't have Caesar or Brandon today, but look who we got.
That's right. We got old Britt Bockius here.
13-foot gate right here.
That's right. All day long. Just a little some of those easy things that we're going to learn about the 13-foot gate and how to get it down there. But we're going to talk about all these guys today. They're going to make the national finals over here starting in December. They get to run 10 of them over there in the pressure cooker for lots and lots of money, and I'm pretty excited about it. I've kind of been out of the loop a little bit about as far as who's making them and who's not, because I don't pay that much attention to it. If I wasn't winning, I really didn't care who was at that time. But with these opportunities with Tolleson-Mack, we're going to do our best to bring you, and with diligent and tenacious research, and maybe bring you a side of the story that no one has yet, and hopefully that I can deliver that, or Benny Moe, or any of us at this point. But we're looking forward to a good finals, big finals. Tolleson-Mack's going to be out there. We're going to fully represent, and then we'll just go from there. But yeah, we're going to kind of give you tonight a little preview of what's going on with our top 15, and I guess we might as well start at the top, don't you think?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But real quick before we get started, when Britt just told me, he goes, man, if we're going to do this, he goes, I want to be the best at it. He goes, not just average this to this. He goes, I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to be best. And I think that's, obviously people that followed his career knew that that's how he went for his day-to-day, living with his rope. So that made me feel good inside. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we want everything to work, and this is a platform that allows me to kind of speak freely in the way I want to. And I think that people want that, as far as I know. But I know that from the first podcast, whether it was raw or edgy or whatever, I've had a lot of people come up to me and tell me that they really enjoyed it. And a time or two went up. I had a guy from, actually, he was from British Columbia. He was up there in the Northeast, and he was in New York. He said, I listened to your podcast yesterday, and he kind of speaks in his French accent, but he goes, I understand you now. I understand you now. So, I mean, if that brings the point across to help us understand better and what we do and why we do it, and especially this list of guys that we're fixing to talk about right here, because I can just remember those 13 or 14 years that I was full-time in pressing and made them those 13 times, that it was just, it's a lot more than people think. It's a lot more dedication and commitment than one really, really wants to understand.
Was this time between, the last day of the season to the first one you run, was it like I feel like that time would be real kind of hype time. Like you do, special practices. You made your arena smaller. You do. I think that would be the cool time. That'd be it'd be fun because everybody knows you made the finals. You kind of
and it was. And like my first couple, I went to rope with Doyle, and I'd normally go to somebody's place because I didn't have one at the time. And then when Charles and I started going all those years consecutively, you primarily rope with this guy all year, and you're with him all year long anyway. So you're going to run as many or more steers throughout the year, where you get back, and as soon as the Pendleton's over, and you can roll home, and you're in the top 15, and which is a wonderful, wonderful feeling like no other. But once you get to that top 15, then you've got a couple of weeks, then you've got your holiday deal kind of going on with your Thanksgiving, and then you get after it, because it was normally the day after Thanksgiving we were rolling towards Vegas. Yeah. So those week or 2 weeks prior to, Charles and I, a lot of times I run as many steers or more with Charles than I did anybody before the finals. Like, I rope with Steve Purcell there. I rope with Wade Wheatley. Certain guys, because of location, didn't make it as easy. But for the most part, Charles was, I would say, predominantly the one, because we'd run a ton. Yeah. We'd run until I was just as tired. My hands was burnt up. And normally it was cold, whether we roped in his little indoor arena or we found somewhere else to go. But we started setting it up a little bit better because, again, we heard that, I guess basically Speedy had done it. And
was he the first one to kind of?
I think so. I think really kind of if I remember right, I heard Speedy and Rich set the arena up, and I don't know what the fuck they did, but whatever it was working, because I went into the lead 3 times. Once by 20,000. Charles and I did by 20,000, and I just sit there and watch Speedy.
Yeah,
do it up.
Yeah. We had Steve Norcott on, and he said, he usually had it made, so he sometimes didn't have to go to the northwest. I'm sorry. I mean, did you ever have it like that, or did you go all year?
No, there were several years. Like I said, Charles and I had banner years to where there wasn't hardly any place we could go. And I know Jake Barnes was talking about it somewhere on a feed that I was listening to the other day about a lot of 2-head rodeos, And so I believe the evolution of team roping it's a wonderful thing that has grown in masses, especially with talent on the head side. I think that the lack of 2-headers has guys reaching. But when I really think about it, if I study a little bit, those guys are reaching no matter what, 2-headers, 3-headers, or whatever. So I just think that the heading pool itself has gotten that much better because they did it more. They started hitting the ball further. They started trying different places to rope from, whether it was Speedy or Driggers or whoever brought it in. I think that's what's happening, and they've learned to control that. And then second of all, made it pretty fucking consistent too. They can fucking weld the horns and they do it from a long ways off.
You know, like in football and basketball, when they get up to the last, you know, if the football team hasn't made and there's 3 games left, usually the starters kind of, you know, they're limited play. Do you think that hurts a team roper? Maybe not hurts it, but, you know, not staying in that competitive nature all the way up until, you know, the very end.
I'll give you an
Even
example.
if you had even if you had the finals made, is there a benefit to stay out there other than the money?
Well, I tell you what, too, and I don't know. I use this a lot of times, and I don't want to go back and say necessarily what I've done, but it does reflect a lot on what I've done. So when Doyle and I would, in the spring, when I was roping with Doyle, we'd take off and we'd do almost 20 schools or 25 schools. We'd have 3-day schools starting the 1st of March. Try to every weekend or fill some weeks up with them as well. And we'd have 15 students on each side, with most of the time had a waiting list because Doyle's name and that school business time was hot then from about, I guess my first school was in 1995 at Perry, Florida.
Wow. So you did schools while you're full time rodeoing?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Because Doyle had it figured out. One guy did because he'd done them with whomever prior to. But we had a good enough winter most of the time each winter, and I roped with Doyle for 2 or 3 years. And then I also basically based my business upon what Doyle had taught me at that time from the schools.
Mm-hmm.
So rodeo until the 1st of March, and then I'd start booking my schools. And I'd try to make sure that those were a priority and no rodeos, period. So I'd go for March and I'd try to book 20. Those schools would have 15 on each side for 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah, I kept telling Doyle, of course, most of them are 2 days now, but not that Doyle was old fashioned, but his schools had been so successful for years with 3 days. Well, I didn't act like I was going to come in and try to run the deal, you know, but I knew I was very respectful. But by the time the 3rd day was around, it was so redundant.
Yeah.
You were telling them the same fucking thing. But we started doing more Tuesday schools, but we'd have all the way through March, April, May. And then when the May rodeo started, whether it was Guyman or wherever we needed to go, that's when we focused back. And those years were successful. We weren't. I think Doyle and I had a chance to win the world too. We ended up reserve 1 year too. So
How many percentage you think that guys like, you know, full time professionals like yourself was doing that back then? Full time rodeo.
There wasn't too many either because I mean, and then I didn't want to be. Yes, I did too. I take that back. I wanted to be even as in advertisement, like at the Super Looper at that time. I would run a full page ad.
Yeah.
It would cost more than normal. I'd kind of doll it up a little bit, whether I put my lightning bolt to brand it, be something catchy. All right, in these schools, if you don't see your name or face. And even nowadays too, because I'm not a national finals qualifier or a mainstream guy, schools are harder to fill because you don't read the names.
Yeah.
People just don't see it.
Yeah.
They're not.
So you had a page out in the Super Looper the whole time. That's cool.
Yeah, I had all my schools basically, because Doyle had taught me to do this, but all my schools basically by the time May had rolled around were scheduled, booked, and ready to go. And I'd put a full page ad in.
Wow.
And they'd be able to get to these schools through May.
So you were marketing yourself back when marketing wasn't popular as it is now.
Yeah, and it was. And I'm not looking back saying I walked to school in 6 foot of snow, but I wish I would have been better at it then, knowing that I had those at my grasp. I mean, those kind of things I would have I'd have benefited from more.
And I think now with, you know, the social media, you know, so there, you know, you can advertise a school and in a blink of an eye now. You don't, you know, have to have an ad as much anymore. It's changed a bunch in that way.
And you know what, too, and I'm going to bring this up too because I'm going to work it with Brandon as well as just in small talk. And I talked to Jade Corkle a couple of days ago about it, but we got some things coming up. You know, as far as the video lessons and helping people, I think it's more important that they stay comfortable at their own place. Like if I told you, hey, Brandon, send me 10 runs, and I told you kind of where to film your head runs or heel runs from, you get your iPhone out there and you film 10 runs.
Yeah.
You're at the comforts of your own house. You have a beer if you want to. You can go bullshit in between runs, but I'll eventually get those 10 runs via whatever.
Yeah.
And then I take those 10 runs, and hopefully with technology, I can make those runs more understandable for you as far as position, delivery, and the rest of the shit that goes with it.
I'll run 20, but give you my best 10.
Yeah. We're going to edit it.
Yes,
we're going to edit it. But yeah, it's got some great things coming. And for a team roper at this point, you know, as far as retired or whatever you want to call it, it's nice to be able to stay in the business because it's all I know. It's all we know. And back to the top 15 that we were talking about, because we were so limited and talking about doing these schools and endorsements at the time, that was it. You know, and then past that, when you're done, you're kind of done. You know, and I think what Trevor and them done with the horse business is good, but that wasn't as available then either. I worked for J.D. Yates and Jay Wadhams for nearly 25 years at the World Show. I'd go to Oklahoma City and I was a catch rider because I could catch on shit. And that's normally what they'd have me on, to be real honest with you.
So you say catch router, just someone that can go and just catch it and,
Don't
and
miss.
to keep the
Don't miss.
score up or
Don't-
whatever.
Just don't miss.
Is that like Cody Cowden? You always have him at the timed event kind of
Don't
catch
miss.
rider. Don't
Don't
miss.
miss.
Yeah.
You
Shout out Cody. Want to have you on.
Yeah,
Dog.
Gordy's coming.
Uh-huh.
Get him over here. I talked to him the other day. He did good over there at that roping in California. Did him and Tano win it?
I don't know.
Yeah, he won 20,000 and he won the
With Tanner?
Well, he won the ATV. He won 20.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
No, my friend Dustin Hicks. So he always tells Cody Cowden. So he knows what I'm talking about. Inside joke, but
Yeah, little Gordy.
yeah.
Gordy, you got to come see us over here. You can come over here and you and I'll just argue because that's what me and Cody normally do.
And so Dennis Gates, we're working on getting HP.
Yeah.
We want to have
Get
him.
HP.
We're this like Caesar right now. He's gone. He's in Louisiana doing and man, that guy stays busy. I got to give him that. He's gone all the time. He's been up in Canada, in Montana, in Texas,
Schooling?
all over. Yeah,
Schooling.
and him and Charlie Crawford do some stuff together
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
I've seen where Charlie was advertising good, and Charlie's well spoken.
Yeah.
I think they do a good job. I think it is a little bit flooded with too many instructors, and I think there's too many ideas that go about it. And we talked about that the last time because there's been 4 or 5 different ways to talk about a heel delivery when we all do it the same way.
Before we get into our main topic of discussion today, let's give us one. You've done all these schools. You've had one dumbass that pissed you off, and you have to have one story of some stupid fuck. Can give us one story before we start?
Oh, there's several stories. There's several stories, but
when you were saying last time, oh, Billy with the new Spurs, you got me going.
That's right. Yeah, you got the Spurs, and then like the Billy Cook guy that had the saddle horn cap. That's what I said. It was a school in Stephenville at Ron Pack's house, and I said, "Hey man, where'd you get your horse?" He said, "Well, I borrowed him. He's a Texas Tech kid. He says you can tell he's green as shit." He said, "Well, I borrowed him." I said, "Well, where'd you come from?" "Well, I think he's Billy Cook's," and that was just the Billy Cook, the saddle maker was on top of the saddle. But we've had several times. Dole and I would do schools, and we would be laughing because we'd have several people want to get bucked off. I had a guy got bucked off one time. The guy that I knew pretty well, too, he's from Kansas City. He shows up, and I think it's his second or his third steer. And he comes around and gets ready to throw, and this motherfucker swallows her head and just dumps him. And when he hits the ground, I'm standing right there beside him. But when he hits the ground, I can hear the air just completely release out of his body. And he kind of comes to, and I make sure he's okay. But for some reason, and maybe you can call this a sickness, but I got a sickness. When I find out they're okay and they've fallen off, it is comical to me. I like to see somebody kind of hit. So he hit like a big old bag of shit out there. And when he got up and got his hair, I'm like, "Hey, man, how long you had that mare?" "Oh, I've had her about a year now. They said she'd do this when I bought her." And I'm like, "What the fuck did you buy her for? If she's going to buck you off." But
That's funny.
yeah, we had a lot of fun. Dole and I did. So, yeah, we would travel. And we normally have to go out on Saturday nights and eat with somebody. And Dole and I'd have too many cocktails. I don't know how many times Dole and I's quit drinking, but yeah, we did.
Everybody wants you to be their friend that
Yeah,
night.
it's a Saturday night deal. I told Dole, and Dole, he's soft spoken. He goes, "Hey, we gotta go to dinner with these guys tonight." I said, "Dole, we're gonna get up. We're not gonna drink. We're not gonna drink a lick." Next thing you know, we're shitting off the top rail, drunk as shit. Just don't know what to do with ourselves. But it was part of the business.
Yeah.
They wanna go rub shoulders. They wanna grind.
Especially them rich guys like that.
They wanna grind with you.
And they see you on TV that you're probably their favorite roper, obviously. So I
was
I
cool.
get it.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it, and again, I didn't necessarily take it for granted. Maybe I did a little bit, but for the most part, it was I was taught to be respectful to those people. You know, and take time. You're not too good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I understand that completely. So what about like your sponsors and stuff? You had a lot of good years with the Professional Choice. You always say that and stuff like that. So other than the NFR, was there any time like during the year where you had to go and like do some a photo shoot or anything like that? Like, did they keep you busy too, or?
I had Pro Choice. I had Larry the Cable Guy, was one of my better sponsors, and which my mainstream sponsor too, which was thank you Brenda Van Newkirk, and there's a guy named Sean Patrick that has passed away that was a big part of Cinch. Another guy named Michael Dvorak was a big part of Cinch, and we started in 1994 with Cinch, and I can remember that Brenda Van Newkirk brought me a pair in their trial pair, and they had the Rocky Mountain, which was the girls' jeans.
Yeah.
They had the labels inside, like the inner stitching was Rocky Mountain, and we wore those, and then like my first finals, because Brenda was a firm believer in kind of what I was doing and knew I was a little bit edgy and raw, and maybe my style was whatever. I just call it Northeastern Okie. I can't help it. I wear shit to be different. No, I just wear shit because I like it.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't matter now, especially your opinion, because I wear it anyway. But like with my Cinch, That contract was from 94. I signed with them for almost 12 or 13 years. They actually had good performance bonuses. They had a great signing bonus.
Wow.
And at one time, I know that I was allotted 250 pieces of clothing, which
Wow.
is in the end a lot,
Yeah.
from outerwear to all my jeans. But what the road to start it was is that the first finals I made, because of the exclusivity in the PRCA and their patch sponsorship program, which is fucking bullshit anyway, because they're limiting a lot of outside sponsors because Wrangler was exclusive. And when Wrangler was exclusive, nobody, I mean, it's nearly like the mafia. I mean, nobody wanted to press on none of their bad issues, nothing, what they were talking about, whether their jeans fit good or not, and whether, in fact, Cinch was coming along with something that was cool.
Mhm.
Not 13 MWZs with the rule book in the back pocket.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So these jeans were cool. So it was a big part. And to me, to be on the front side of that as an endorsee, because I'm pushing something that's kind of different that may not work, but when it does, it's really going to work. And that's kind of what Cinch did.
And it worked.
It worked great.
Yeah.
Our first year at the finals, because of the patch exclusivity sponsorship program, you had to meet certain requirements as far as width and length of what was monogrammed on your shirt. Nothing like NASCAR because, it's not successful. You can put anything anywhere for the most part.
Yeah.
Cars blitzed with fucking
Everywhere.
stickers.
Yeah.
Well, what happens is Wrangler got pissed off because Cinch is competing with him, and I understand it was starting to fucking put something, in their checkbook. Well, I called him and I said, "Hey, they want me to put duct tape over this at the finals." And at the first finals, like 94 through 96, you'll see it more. But then there was more than one guy that competed with duct tape on.
Really?
And I thought, I'm from Oklahoma, but that can't be any more fucking Okie.
Yeah.
I don't want duct tape on my shirt. So I called Michael Dvorak and Brenda Van Newkirk. I said, they're gonna find me $1,000 a perf if I wear this. He said, wear it. I said, I don't want to wear no fucking duct tape. They said, "Wear
Badass.
it."
That's
The
badass.
next thing you know, Cinch, whether it was 10,000 for every perf,
Oh
but
shit.
I refused to wear duct tape.
That's badass.
Yeah.
That is cool. So you were one of the originals from the start.
Yeah. Well, there was myself, Cody O. There was several from right around there, but my relationship with Brenda Van Newkirk, talking
Yeah.
about schools,
Mhm.
she'd been to a clinic, and she was probably, as far as commission sales in the Western lifestyle, she had her 10 card.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, she could sell.
That's awesome. I know another guy to this day still gets a bunch of Cinch stuff, just like, I don't know how many pieces, but I mean, for Christmas, that's what he gives away.
Yeah, they did. They took care of us so good. I had several garage sales too because Cinch had a lot of plaid at first, and I don't know why they were so based on plaid, but they'll know their color scheme like a year or two before. New York somehow says, "Oh, this is going to be popular in the spring of 2026," and it's only 20.
Yeah.
So, based upon that, it must have been a plaid season because I had shit ton of plaids, and I would normally get those monogrammed. So I'd take them and I'd get them monogrammed by real cool button shirts I'd save for later, But I kept telling them, I said, "Golly, we got to get away from this plaid," and we did, and we got some color, we got some cool shit. Outerwear's great, and it was a great run with that company.
Did you get to design anything, or?
Yeah, I did. I had a hand in the outerwear.
That's cool.
Yeah, which is kind of cool.
What about ropes? What was your rope company?
My ropes was, which I signed with Classic first. We were one of some of the original, myself, Guy Allen, T. Woolman, Steve Priscilla, Kevin Stewart. There were several which are on the original. I still have that poster of the original Classic team. I was with them for a year. Kind of was a smart ass by the end of that first year and thought that, I want my endorsements to be good. And I'm not saying nothing about Classic or anything, but if you are that company that decides, hey, look, we're going to try to flood the market with as many patches on our shirt as we can just for product and not pay the guys that are worth it, that's fucked. That's wrong.
So they like put over the massive everybody.
And I just
calls.
think anybody said, I just really think, okay, so here's what happens with professionalism in our sport. Is like, yeah, I don't mind somebody wearing a patch. I mean, some guy that went to a garage sale and found one or whatever. I don't necessarily mucho care about that, but too many patches and not on the right guy. Okay, so you're giving him product. I understand that, but
yeah,
I want what he's getting for the cost of that product
exactly.
because I'm doing more than him.
Yeah,
basically, it's just all about it's dog eat dog.
And you see some patches, on some stuff like, whoa.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I see patches now. I'm like, what?
I think it's just like most of them. It's like their family members' company or something.
Right. And I understand.
But I do see some big ones.
I understand that too. But I mean, let's just for the mainstream rodeo guys, and that's kind of what happened. But Cinch, they paid you what you were worth.
That's good.
They're a good company.
Mm-hmm.
They got a great fucking product.
Tell us about Larry the Cable Guy. That's kind of unique.
That's a guy that I met through Marty, another friend of mine. Marty, shout out. He's down there around South Coffeeville, and Marty had met him and knew him. So then Marty kind of brought him around. We went to a show or two, and then Larry was really interested in the rodeo business, and so he wanted to put a team together. So it just happened to be that it was myself, Jerome Schneeberger at the time. We were two of the Larry the Cup, and then he had a bull rider. I can't remember, but he had a few guys, and then he sponsored Coleman Proctor for a little while. But he was just that guy, and basically our deal was with Larry the Cable Guy. He said, "Well, I'm going to write you a check for $1,000 a month," and he did that for a year.
That's cool.
Sure, so I mean that was a pretty simple deal. Not expecting nothing, but we're in other situations like my ropes, my boots, not necessarily my jeans, but the outerwear we were talking about. I wanted to promote a product, not necessarily my brand, but I wanted to help that company.
Yeah.
Because if I help that company, they'll help me.
Yeah.
And that's the way Pro Choice did. When they bought their rope company in Toller, I was primarily their guy at that time. And so I got to choose my own rope, which was the Blue Bolt. And
the Blue Bolt.
So we did the old Blue Bolt for a while. And then after that, I got 10 cents of every rope, no matter whether it was a Blue Bolt or anything else.
Wow.
So all of these things kind of progressed. All my contracts were a good signing bonus for the most part. I didn't sign just for product, like some will. I wanted front end and back end mailbox money, and I want performance bonuses because if I don't do good for you guys, I don't need fucking paid.
Yeah.
And so if I'd win the feist, I'd get 2,500, 4,000, whatever it was.
That's cool.
So I did that.
That's an incentive it's a win-win. I like that. It's a performance based.
If I'm doing good, then your advertising's good.
Yeah, it's performance based. That's cool.
So that's what I did.
It's just kind of crazy the times that we're in now with, how much with the World Series of team rope and being right down the road, back in, when did the World Series come to Vegas? Was it there when you were making the finals?
No.
So I don't know. I'm just speculating, and you can answer this question better than me, but I feel like them bringing that event to Vegas during the same time as the finals has just made Vegas so much bigger, so much more eyes, so much more money for ropers like you. I think that World Series, it benefits the pro guys a bunch, because there's so many more convention centers, so much more signings, so much more stuff. I mean,
and that's what we want initially. I'd like to see in a perfect world, because maybe we lack the business guy to handle that, because I know these companies have money. I mean, I know at one time, and I don't have a cinch contract now, and I'm not saying that they care if I share this information, but I knew that they were doing 72 million
back then.
72 million.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool. So I want maybe just a little more of that cheese, or we do whatever. But yeah, I think Vegas is good for that. I think social media is good for that, because again, oh gosh, and I don't even know, and I'm not going to say any names, but every so often I'll run across a guy that's teaching this calf roping and getting off and all this other shit when I don't even know him.
Yeah, never heard of him.
Nobody knows him.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm like, all right, why and how is this guy allowed? I wish that were more monitored, because we'd have less fuck ups roping.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So back when you were making finals and all that was going on, I'm sure you had to have obligations, had to go down to certain casinos and sign autographs, stuff like that. Was the Cowboy Christmas in the Event Center going on at that time?
Yes.
Also, so that was still there.
Yeah, swamped.
That's awesome.
So, and at first, the autographs, they were always busy. But then the more notoriety to become a household, they weren't just there because, and which was a nice feeling, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They weren't there just because they were shopping for boots and somebody come by. They were there because they wanted your autograph.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so which I thought was kind of cool. And we'd have long lines, and I most of the time signed with Cinch, Professional Choice, and then I would have this calendar set up before I'd leave. I'm sure it's even busier now because, Coleman Proctor and I is really good friends. I roped with him for a while. I think he's as driven and as talented. And I think he's well spoken as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he's got a complete package.
Yeah.
He's somebody that I'm going to admire and pull for all the time because he's an Okie, number one. And I just think that there's good things. But I think what he's done, he's marketed himself well. He speaks well. So if there's a company that wants you to, all of a sudden you're on the spot, it's like, oh, they're going to go to the Cowboy. What do you think about this?
Yeah.
Well, then there's a lot of times this dumb fucking they don't know what the hell they're going to say. Well, like the product, it's good and it's good. No, they need to know.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then they ask them how much it costs, and they don't know. You got to know the numbers.
I don't know, but I got a gift certificate.
Yeah, Coleman. Man, he's amazing in what he did this year. I guess we could jump into it, huh?
Yeah, bro. Let's do it. Let's see those guys right now that are fixed to go that old pressure cooker over there for 10 days.
Man, so you talk about coming in 3 times. You were number 1 going in.
I was 3 times. I was the Crown Royal World Leader 3 times. Once by 20,000. The other 2 that I can.
And that's a buckle, right?
It's a buckle. Yeah, it is a buckle. But boy, it's disheartening too sometimes. Yeah, it's We're not going to talk about that no more, Brandon.
Man, so this year, Dustin and Levi, I mean, they've been on a tear.
Man, I think that I wish I watched Levi heal, and I won't necessarily. I don't like some people call. We talked about last time. Oh, this guy heals good. Well, they have to. In my eyes, not that I'm that critical, but in my eyes, I want to see that that's not just healing. That's wonderful healing.
Yeah.
And I think Levi's got to that point. He's graduated with that. And these guys throw fast too. But going back to not necessarily is Levi in the middle of a pack, or is he just going to fall out of the sack when we pour all the healers? No, he's talented, or he wouldn't be in the spot he was at right now. But he does have that guy in front of him.
Yeah.
And that guy is amazing. From what I've seen, I mean, he scores good. His game is to reach. I don't care whether he came from Florida or not. I know that sometimes, whether it was speedy or whatever, if you come from the Southeast because the scores are short, no, not necessarily. Well, at the finals, that's maybe good and in your benefit. But all year long, you have to be a complete scorer. And I think that's what Dustin has done. And I think they're ready. You know, I mean, last year he was close. And again, my history of these runs and these people on these runs is a little foggy because until now I've lacked interest because I just didn't pay attention. But will I be able to explain what I think as good as anyone? Yeah. But right now, I think Dustin and Levi got a great chance because, number one, Dustin's going to be going at most of the day monies. There's going to be room for mistake a time or two, but I think overall that Dustin's going to find a way to rope as good or better than anybody else there.
Yeah.
And I think that he's got, which brings us to probably number two. Is that Tyler or is that?
That's T. Wade and Wesley Thorpe.
And again, T. Wade, here's a Northeastern Texas guy that grew up behind some short scores and was a reacher. He was a kid that I got to see a lot of that. At that time, you would look back at a guy like him and I would go, man, that kid's got some unreal talent, you know, and when it would work, but it was 1 in 5 then. Maybe it was 1 in 6. And I didn't keep track of the numbers, but it wasn't that often.
Yeah.
In the early days, a guy like T. Wood, or T. Wade, he would impress you, but maybe he wouldn't win in as much, you know, often.
It was like a home run or pop fly.
Yeah, but then I'll tell you what they've done. And hats off to them. I take nothing away from those guys that have become reachers with Dustin, with T. Wade, with Caleb Driggers.
And that's the top 3 right there. That's my point right there. Those top 3, I would say they're, especially the top 2, their styles are pretty similar. Squeezes and T. Wade. How does that, throwing all that rope though, does that kind of get them when they get to the finals? Does that, because their healers have to be right there, Johnny, on the spot in the corner. You know what I mean? Because if they're in that fence too quick, I mean, do they have to change anything up by the time they get there because the arena's smaller?
Well, I use examples too sometimes. In the very first year and he's been here before a lot, is Nick Sartain. Nick Sartain's a really good friend of mine. Stayed at my house when he was young. He was good friends with my brother. And to watch him evolve was important because, again, it was personal. Yeah. I mean, like somebody like Dustin or, you know, Caleb, I got to kind of watch him evolve, but Nick was more personal. So when he got to the finals that year that he was in the lead or whatever, I think the very first year he might have went in the lead. Anyway, a chance to win. And I said to myself, no one else, because I don't analyze or try to be too critical, especially now. But I'm like to myself, if Nick gets there and he's got the same bomb game, which Nick had his measurements figured out. I think that's what those guys do now. No matter what their loop size is, and I think T-Wade's exceptional with it too. Dustin's, when their loops hit, they just fucking hit and they're tight. They're done.
They're just perfectly done. Small just to go around the horn size. Yeah.
I think Sartain, he was maybe the one that evolutionized that. Speedy rope good as a reacher, but when Nick's loops hit, they hit fast and tight.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, you know, I don't want him to. I'm pulling for him to win it with, I don't even remember who it was that year. I'm pulling for him to win it. I'm pretty sure he didn't. He come back the next year or the year after and did. But the very first year that he did make it, he might have been riding the app mare too. But I'm saying he's going to reach too far.
Yeah.
There's too much there. Because again, you'll see guys, Wheatley at a time or two, Luke Brown on his horse that I said ducks around the barber pole. When they get to that wall in that corner, it's dead.
Yeah.
And that guy he won't flag.
Yeah.
He won't just give it to you, and because there's just too much on the ground.
So those guys going in, he's 201,000 and T-Wade right behind him with 191. I mean, there's the
day means were 17, 19 this year. I don't know. We need to see that.
The day money?
Yeah.
I think it's like 26, 27.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's up there.
Well, yeah. And from 1st to 15th, we know has a chance with those kind of figures, but we know that there's. And Tuff Hedeman always said it. The right guys are going to win, and you're going to see that the better guys are always going to kind of come out top. So that's what we're seeing right now. We see the 3 best reachers.
Yeah.
You got the 3 best reachers in the game. And on top of that, the 3 best probably scorers that probably score because there's a reason they're there.
Yeah, for sure. So number 3 is Caleb. Number 4 it's Coleman Proctor.
Yeah, man, he's my dog.
Yep.
I got to pull from Coleman and
Pryor, Oklahoma.
yeah, he's from Pryor Creek right there. I got to pull from my 918 guys because I was there for the bigger part of my life, and I think he's good too. He's measuring off. He's grown up in his roping a lot. I think, and I use that terminology a lot. I didn't mean that they were childish but I just when I say growing up or that he grew up into, I think Coleman did. I think it was just pretty. I think it was pretty elementary at first, and he was doing it good several times in a row, and he would shine. But then he wouldn't shine. But I think what they've done is they've graduated to a point where all of those guys that we've mentioned so far, they don't miss often, and they score good, and they're throwing unbelievably fucking fast.
Then we got the switch ender over here, Clint Summers.
Yes, I roped with Clint a little bit. We won a rodeo at Arcadia, and then I don't know, was it a couple years ago he wanted to go to Arcadia, and then he ended up hooking me up with all-around champion from maybe Minnesota. But anyway, that didn't go so good. Clint Summers. That's a poke at Clint. But Clint Summers, what he's done is he knew what he needed to do. He went to Trevor. They got the right kind of horses. I think that's probably what he was kind of riding around that time. That's what insight I have on Clint. He's a great rope handler. He's got fast hands. And he's probably got one of my favorite healers behind him.
Am I correct by saying he made the finals both ends?
Yes, he's one of them. He's made them once heading, once healing. Now he's made them twice heading.
I said that, but then I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, no, that don't happen very often.
No.
The switch enders, no, and he's one of them. But he made it too with Eric Rogers, and then now he's headed last year and this year.
Yeah, we were talking, Trevor and Speed Williams made it, and him and Quinn Kessler. There's been quite a few.
Yeah. Mark Simon was one. Mark and David Moats, maybe they kind of did, but I think Mark did both ends there one year.
And we got Andrew Ward. What do you know about Andrew Ward?
Great Okie, great family, wonderful people, driven, and I can just say that he's from what I've seen on his bay horse. The measurements when he stays in his lane, how everything happens when it goes on the horn, and as quick as they come together, he's a threat as well. Because I just think that he ropes horns good. I think he's solid. And when I see these people in the box too, I can see that Andrew's calm, and he's got the right thoughts. He's doing everything the right way, and I think that is important as well.
We got Jake Smith. He's a first timer.
Yeah, Jake Smith from the Smith family. Everybody around Broken Bow down there. Jake Clay.
Bunch of Okies is here.
Yeah, Jake Clay and Britt. Yeah, you can't keep this. But there's Jake Clay and Britt. Now Jake was a healer forever.
Yeah,
that's he healed for Clay when that family was growing up, and then I think Britt heads too. But Jake made a transition, decided he was going to go to head. I can honestly say that I know he's talented enough with the rope. If I seen him head that many, I saw him turn one off for Douglas somewhere where they won big, whatever their big money was. Normally I'll see the highlight runs. And Jake did just kind of like what you think somebody that has had a rope in their hands since they was about 2 years old, and that's all they know. And that's what the Smith family does. They eat, breathe, live, and shit roping.
I mean, if you're on the Jay Leno show at 5 years old, switch rope, you better be,
Yeah, that's what they do. And their dad's good people. Their mother, all their grandpa. It's just a neat family, man.
Another, I don't know if he's from Oklahoma or not, but JC, how you spell it?
Yaquo?
Yeah, he's from Oklahoma too?
Yeah. I think they went to college at OSU.
Oh,
yeah, go Cowboys and Pistol Pete. I know this kind of shit down there, but I was a Boomer Sooner, but then my boy he was an Oklahoma State fan, so I kind of went to rolling over there with them. But they graduated from Oklahoma State. I college rodeoed last year. JC seems driven as ever, and he ropes the horns good. And I think his brother ropes, and we'll probably be seeing him before too long because I think they got the means. They're in Crescent, Oklahoma. I see things about them. I can't wait to meet either boy and talk to them, and I'm going to get to know them good. But I've heard great things about those kids.
Another Brenton Hall.
Brenton Hall. Here's a funny name about.
Is he from Oklahoma too? Jeez, your guys' fucking grand entry is going to be bigger in Texas.
I know it. I'm still pissed off because I never carried the flag. Blair Burke carried it every year. I'd roll in behind him, but I didn't have enough money to carry it. But the Okies are strong. We got a strong force. But from Jake Smith and all these guys, I think that it's important. But Brenton Hall is a guy that I'm real familiar with because let's see, it would have been, I was still in high school, so I graduated in 89. So around 87, 88, 89, I was going to the amateur finals at the IRA, and they were in Oklahoma City. And at that time, I was roping with a guy named Bob Hall. And Bob Hall has passed, but that's Brenton's dad. And Bob Hall was a really good friend of mine. And I've heard this story, and when I roped with Bob, Bob could never say Britt. It was always Brenton.
Yeah.
And my full name's Britton.
Oh, yeah.
So I think what happened is that not that he named him after, but Bob never could say Britton. He'd always say Brenton. So that's kind of maybe where Brenton Hall got his name. I have no clue. So I got some namesakes in there. We got the Smith family with the Britt, and we've got Brenton, who was Britton, but he couldn't pronounce the son of a bitch right. But I roped with his dad at several IRA finals. He's He's amazing. Brenton Hall's amazing. Got
Yeah.
good skills too. These boys reach. And reach
Yeah,
good.
Caesar told me a while back. He goes, "Man, some guys just have like the header body, like their body shape." And I'm thinking, "What are you fucking talking about?" And he's like the tall, slender
guess you gotta
guys. You know what I mean? And like, look at Dustin. I mean, and the healer, I guess it doesn't matter so much, but I kind of understand what Caesar talking about. You do got to have to be, they're 3.5 foot, or arm is 3.5 more foot of rope, or and so I get that.
Yeah, the strength is a big thing, but Dustin's so strong.
Yeah.
Coleman's strong. All them guys are strong.
We got Luke Brown. I think
veteran,
14 years, I might be, or 12, something like that. I don't know.
veteran. Came from the Southeast, I think North Carolina originally. I knew him well for many, many years. Great, quiet guy. Doesn't say a whole lot, but gets the job done. And he's one that ropes the horns good. He's got good measurements as well, I think. So he's going to be good in many different situations. I think where Luke might shine more than some reachers is that if he doesn't like that shot, he might stay down and get one more. And if in the end it means maybe placing one higher in the average to win the world, then Luke Brown's got that chance.
He's not won the world, correct?
No.
I think he's won the average three times or something like that, but not the world. I'm rooting for him. I mean, he has a lot of career left, of course, but I want like him and like Travis Graves, like those guys they deserve it. I mean, they put in the time, the money, the blood, sweat, and tears. So we got Luke Brown. Right behind him is probably one of the nicest guys I've ever interviewed. He was just like a wholesome, really made me feel like I was his homie, and it was cool. I like to interview people that, especially in Vegas, like you guys are rock stars over there. So it's, and he humanized it. And Clay Smith.
Oh yeah,
he's awesome.
Yeah, he's just he's a sweet, sweet gentleman.
Yeah, he is. He's
and
a really
again,
good guy.
I love his dad as well, but his mom had a pretty good hand in that. All of those boys are, again, they're well spoken. It's ma'am, it's sir.
Yeah,
and that's the way the shit goes.
Absolutely, and his roping affects that. And then we have
he's a champ.
Yeah,
he's got it.
Well, 2-time world champion or something.
But I'm telling you, there's just from all the same events that I went to, and the way they kind of looked up to me, which I'm humbled. I appreciate that, especially now that they're doing what they're doing. But little Jake would come tell me jokes, and normally they were dirty jokes, and he'd probably come do that at about 8 or 10. Clay never would tell me no dirty jokes. He just sit back and be smile. But Jake,
he'd tell you what's up.
Full of
That's funny. And we got another first timer. Is it Clyde Dennison?
Kyle Dennison, Louisiana.
Kyle?
Yeah, Kyle Dennison. They had a strong finish. Tanner Braden's his partner from Dewey, Oklahoma, which Dewey is basically my old stomping grounds forever. My mom and dad graduated from Dewey. I graduated from a little school called Copan, not too far from there. Tanner Braden's worked hard to get to this point. I'm glad he got the break that he needed. There's some things that, are going to maybe challenge him. Maybe, I don't know. I'm pretty critical about loop size sometimes, and I don't want to hunt in Vietnam with a BB gun. So I'm going to lengthen my loop when I get to the finals, and I think that's important. And I'm not telling anybody how to do it when they get there, but I just know that there are certain things that I'm going to look back on and say that if it's something that might need to be worked on, I know he's going to, and I know he's hard, and it's his first finals, so yeah. I wish the best for him. But Kyle Dennison's a reacher. He's a Louisiana kid that likes to bomb, wilder than hell, and they're going to win some day money.
That's good.
They will. They'll win a day money or two. I hope. If I foresee anything.
We got Eric Rogers, the old vet from Arizona. He's a great guy too. We had him on the podcast.
He's solid.
We're Arizona, so
I got to know him a little better here just in the last few years. But again, he's always been respectful, and he's just a nice kid. But when you see that native guy, they're humble.
Yeah,
it's different.
Yeah,
when they back in the box, they're not doing it because they had got to the point where they had the best rigs and their fathers and mothers. They took them to the best places and all of these things and had provided for them, where Derek and himself, they're very humble.
Absolutely.
And I think that their will to win is different.
Yeah.
So that'll be that's always a big deal too. And I know Joe Beaver speaks of it some and has a lot of those qualities too, is that not just are you that talented, but when it comes down and you're pressed against something, you need to find a way to win and find that avenue. And I think that's kind of what Eric Rogers may do more. A lot of Luke Brown, certain situations where these guys are going to overcome things.
Then we got Cody Snow. He hasn't been there in a couple of years, but he made the finals quite 3, maybe 5 or 6 times in the past. And
another tall guy. We was talking about bodies. Yeah. Another tall guy's got some reach. I think these guys have perfected their swings enough that they've got a good angle. They've got good dip. They know how to do it. Personally, roping the dummy, I've tried. I'm a hip and split kind of guy. I like to roll up there with a lot of English, but I'm amazed by the loop principles, how it's going on. T-Wade, there's certain times that T-Wade, I've been watching him from the box that I know when they reach. Jojo Lamont did it a time or two. It looks like they're in front of their delivery, and then all of a sudden this big floaty loop comes in, just out of nowhere. And I see T-Wade do that a lot. So that's a loop that he's got figured out, and that's going to be That's going to be deadly there.
Yeah, and then we have Derek Begay right there, 15th.
Yeah, another guy that's probably just as seasoned as they get, and knows the start. When he backs in there, there's not going to be one nervous bone in him.
No.
He's going to know what to do.
No.
He's going to let the hype not bother him, and he's going to control himself. So another threat again. And who is he?
I think Jonathan.
Okay, Jonathan Torres, second time NFR qualifier. Yeah, he's going to. Jonathan's roping good. Works hard at his roping. You can.
And that's all unofficial. I don't really know, but that's the rumor on the streets.
And we're going to catch up more too, because like I said, from this point forward, I want to make some calls, get these guys on the line. Ask them a couple of just lighthearted, important questions. Maybe not the same ones that everybody asks all the time, but I'm going to get a little insight on what they're doing, and are they ready? Yeah. So
now let's go to the rock stars, the ones that count, the healers.
That's right. The chicks dig the healers. The chicks.
Well, obviously we talked about Levi. He's number one.
Yeah, great healer, very finished. I think that I've watched him at Ellensburg and several of those runs on my social media feeds. He's doing it the right fucking way, and he's making it happen. And they finished their run, and that's like with Charles and I. We would finish our run, and I think with anybody that I roped with when I got to that point. But I see Dustin and Levi really finish a run.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a threat at the MAC, because if you get wadded up in the corner, that might cost you. And if it's coming down to day money, like we think it's probably going to because of the prize money, I think they're finished. I think they're a finishing team as far as time on their runs.
We got Wesley.
Yeah, Wesley.
2-time world champ.
Baby Jesus is a wonderful healer. I mean, I watch and I think of fundamentally correct healers. Jade Corkle, probably one of my favorites. And then I look at Paul Eves and I look at some different guys. But, there we go. Fundamentally as correct as they can get. I like the fact that he sprays those big gates, and that's what I like to see.
We got the number 3, the Brazilian Blur, we call him around here.
I watched Jake and Barnes and them talking about him the other day where he would rope from different positions because he's – and I don't think anybody realizes how strong Junior is.
Mm-hmm.
From his core to the bottom of his toes to his swing – to his work ethic. I think that, and again, when the Brazilians come over, whether it's bull riding or team roping or anything, eventually you're going to see a great one.
Yeah.
Because I think that that's just a better lifestyle for them, and they understand, hey, man, winning over here is better than whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's what I respect in a guy like Junior. I saw Junior come on early on with a mutual friend of ours named Robbie Schroeder, and he was horse showing. All right. So when you're horse showing, of course, JD and all those guys, they'll get on your ass about get your horse out wide, especially heeling, because you want to show him. You want him rolling in there and just dragging his ass like a fucking wormy dog, and you want him doing it for a while. Hold your rope up and then dally, and that's what you got to do to show him.
Yeah.
Well, Junior, these first couple of years showing, nobody crossfires horse showing.
Yeah.
Nobody does. You don't crossfire horse showing.
Yeah.
Because it's just not. It just doesn't set the run up to make your horse look good. I can remember Robbie Schroeder, who was. He was a strong man. All right. So then he would tell you just exactly kind of what he thought. And most of the time you did it. But I can remember him all the time telling Junior, quit getting out over your horse's fucking head. Quit crossfiring and just all this other shit, giving him shit. And then Junior would just smile, and his English was way more broken than it ever was. But Junior evolved from that. Junior's hungry. Junior's driven. And Junior is a member of one of my favorite clubs of all, and that's Duels Only. And that's it. So it's duels only. He ropes 2 feet every fucking time, and that's what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, he's riding Caesar's horse, and man, they're badass together. I mean, he has a couple horses, but man, when he rides that Lucky Bucky, I mean, he's something deadly. We got Jake Long, another veteran. I like it.
Jake Marvin Long.
I like his horse. I love that roan.
I don't know how I'm tied to a lot of these guys, but Marvin Long and I go back and remember Jake Marvin Long when he was in diapers. His mom and I are friends. His mom and my mother are really good friends. And then Cricket, his dad, was a guy that used to pick me up when I was about 12 or 13 and take me to all the jackpots up there in Kansas, just right across the line. So I spent a lot of time with his dad. Now, there was a period of time where I didn't rope as much, and I got away from Jake and just the daily life of what they did wherever they were because I was rodeoing full time. But then all of a sudden, here comes Jake Marvin Long, and he didn't just come along with just mediocre talent.
Yeah.
He's fucking rank.
Yeah.
So to me, when I say they're fucking rank, they're rank.
Yeah.
And Jake Long is. So I don't fault Jake Long at all. Is there certain times that I think maybe he's too fast or throws too fast? I do that sometimes with everybody, but I'm maybe just a little more old fashioned. But Jake Long takes chances, and most of the time he makes them work. And
Absolutely.
I'm super fucking proud of him.
Yeah. We got Logan Midland.
Logan, again, this is Jeff Medlin's kid. I rodeoed during those times with Cue Ball. His dad's a great guy. These kids come along, and I think that's just, again, with having that kind of father and that upbringing, they have no other choice. It's in their hands. It's what they do. But I'll tell you what, Logan's got a great heel horse, and Coleman not only sticks good, but Coleman's putting their legs to good. And I'll take this for like Clint Summers, Coleman Proctor, and nowadays like Caleb Jiggers. But in our times, like Charles Pogue didn't heel that much. I mean, he can heel. Steve Priscilla, he can't heel very good, but he'll tell you he can. But a lot of headers just didn't heel. Well, nowadays that's kind of changing because I think the evolution of the road or the ropings let those kids do more both ends growing up.
Yeah.
We had to specialize. I can remember sitting down with my crazy ass dad, and he said, "You need to pick one of the two because you're just kind of half-assed at both." I said, "Well, I want to heel because that's what the chicks dig." So I went to healing. From that point forward, that's all I did. Nowadays, I think, but will benefit Coleman. It's going to benefit Clint Summers, I think, Jake Smith, and the other guys know what's up. But I think you take true healers that make it heading.
Yeah.
I think they got a way of figuring out a feel. They know what's up back there because I just think it's different. I think Coleman's going to do that for Logan, and Logan's going to take full advantage of it. So they're going to be a lot of day monies won. And again, it's going to come down because the average pays so much. I'm not for sure after I talk to these guys between now and the finals, what is their mindset? Because I know that with Charles, if I were to go out there and want to win the average every year, there'd be no problem. I'd catch 10.
Yeah.
I'm going to go catch 10, Charles. All right, let's go. And we can be 6'5" or better on every fucking steer. But no, that doesn't win the world.
Yeah.
And that showcase.
That's a question. I don't want to get off topic real quick, but that's another question I wanted to ask you. If you're 10, 11th in the world, and you it's just a lot going on right there, and you go to your partner and say, "Hey man, let's just go get the average. Let's go be 5 flat on every one." I mean, I don't quote me, but it's somewhere between 75 and 80,000 to win the average right now. That's a hell of a finals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, maybe you get fourth in a couple rounds. You don't win no day monies. That's fine, but you don't have that much stress on you. You know what I mean? You're just going and making your run. How come more guys? Realistically, they kind of know when you're like even if I won 6 out of the 10 day monies, I'm still not going to win the world. Why don't more guys do that? What I mean, it's just pride. I mean, you're there. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. But
they want to win the world.
I get it, but
that's it, really.
But I want to have money to go to Denver.
I know. I'm agreed too. I mean, and like I said, if in fact Charles and I were to have a game plan before we went in there, let's go win the average. Yeah, we won the average one year, but that wasn't intentional. We just end up catching those 10 steers faster. But it is, and it seems like it's always that mindset. And I know that these guys, not only do they just rope good. Now, look, I'm not going to say that it takes a brain scientist to be a team roper in the top 15, but I'll see where intelligence might maybe make a guy a little bit better. There's certain things about that where it's like, all right, do I need to stay down on this one? Do I need to go one more? Do I need to kind of Luke Brown and think, oh, I don't like this shot because it's going to leave the door open for a mistake or maybe for me to stub my toe. So that 17 to 26,000 is important to me, and especially if I fuck up and it's only 2 loops, I'm done. Yeah. So that makes me have 9 steers, and if I fuck up one more time, that's 8 steers.
Yeah,
and then
hard to come back.
That's when you go to hard to come back.
Yeah,
but what's interesting about this field here is the money from first to whatever. So if you're figuring the day money, if you're paying 26,000, I don't know what the 15th money guy's got, but it's got to be 100 something. I think
it's over 100.
Yeah. So
like we're I just did the top 5. So Clint Summers has 143,001, and so he's 60 some thousand off of that's only 2 go rounds.
Yeah, man.
I mean that's crazy. Like that. Yeah,
and like
crazy.
with him last year, they got on a roll, and won 2 or 3 in a row, right? There, or whatever. But that can happen. Bobby Hurley did it. Speedy was consistent to do it. There wasn't anybody, and really I don't think has been anybody since that has roped at the Tolleson-Mack the way he did.
Yeah. Didn't Al Bach, didn't he win like 5 or 6?
With Doyle.
Yeah, something like
Doyle.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, with Doyle.
The last.
And Bobby Hurley, that was with Bobby, but him and Doyle won several rounds too.
So we have Logan Midland. Now we have Douglas Rich. What do you know about Douglas Rich?
Douglas Rich, a one-time NFR qualifier. I've heard nothing but great things about him as far as his personality and who he is. I'm excited to meet him.
Okay.
I'm really, I want to look up and shake his hand, but I've watched him enough and I studied enough before we came here this evening that Douglas is a good feet roper. He throws a good gait, So, and at that time, Bobby Harris, like I said, he told us you have to be heavy to heel. Douglas is a little bigger guy, kind of like I was, and still was like back in the heel. So, yeah, I'm pulling for the bigger guys. And Douglas, I want to see him set him down and make it happen.
Caden Profili.
Okay, this is maybe where I should have done more homework. It's his first time. Who's he roping with, Brandon?
Oh, I don't quote me, but I
Is
want to
it
say it's
Luke?
no, it's is it Clyde?
No, Kyle
Oh,
Dennison's roping with Tanner Braden. So I think that we got to go Luke Brown and either
yeah, you might be
Hunter.
right.
No, he's roping with Hunter Coke. We're getting
Yeah.
to him. Okay, go ahead. All
Is
right.
it Cody Snow?
Cody Snow.
Is it Cody Snow?
So, but the Caden boy again, other than just what social media feeds, but a first time NFR qualifier. Normally, sometimes that goes either way. Either their nerves are racking them up, and it's not going to be that good for them, or flights out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, going through the whole thing, the back number ceremony, all that stuff for the first time, I just couldn't imagine. Like, it's like the last thing you're thinking about is, getting 2 feet at that point, all the
Yeah.
bullshit going through your head, so it'd
I
be
tell you,
tough.
I tell people too, like, and again, those people that were armchair analysts, and I would come home and want to suck on a tailpipe because I went in the lead in 20,000 and didn't win it because I wanted to be the fucking world champion.
No.
Nobody wanted it any worse, but it didn't happen and whatever. But in saying that, every one of these guys want one, and I want it to happen. I know that they're going to have to rope their best and score their best, but when we get out there to the finals, it's based on day money by day money.
Yeah,
It really is. I don't think anybody ever until like the 7th or 8th.
Mhm.
They might go back and think, you know what, I just need to, and
Yeah.
that's where the decision making comes in. But I promise you, within the first 5 rounds, every one of those guys are going to try to win first.
Absolutely. So Caden, he's going to walk up on that stage, but right behind him is going to be an old vet, and I'm so happy this story, with Mr. Vaughn on, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's
That was awesome for him to take. I think it was 12 years he didn't make the finals,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
to come back after 12 years, lots changed, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
but it really hasn't. He's just catching 2 feet, just doing what you guys do.
Rope 2 feet.
Like you said, you've been off for you last time we had you on, you said, hey, without seeing Caesar rope, without seeing me rope, I don't give a fuck who it is. I'll put 10 of them together and I'll slap them together. And I believe that. I mean, it's like riding a bike to you guys, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
it's that much, and we put that much into it. And I think that's important. So I tell people at schools, they'll say, "Well, how many does it take before you got this good?" Well, I wish I had a counter. I wish I had a counter every time I'm back in the box. I'd be smoking.
mhm.
I'd run it out. But I like Caden and his roping. I want him to do good as a rookie. I want him to, just be lights out. But
Absolutely.
again, I've got other favorites just
Yeah.
because of experience.
I just, man, being next to Vaughn on, like he could be a sponge and soak up some of that knowledge. And, Collins forgot more than, some of these guys have,
He's a good dude.
12 years break. That's amazing in my eyes. Like
Yeah.
12 years, like
Yeah.
a lot's changed.
Which brings us to the point too that again, what Colin had done up to that point
Mhm.
before he didn't make them for those 12 years, all of that work put forth, it doesn't
Yeah.
go anywhere.
No.
You might be able to get a little rusty, but it can be sharpened back up, and
Absolutely.
that's what he did.
Tanner Braden.
Tanner Braden, again, like I said, Dewey, Oklahoma, Dewey Bulldoggers, go Dewey Pride. I want him to do wonderful because he's personal to me because I roped with his brother some. I knew them, the family growing up, his dad. I knew everybody. So, yeah, it's awesome to see another Dewey guy make them. And again, first timer.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's going to have to bear down.
That's cool. Another first timer, Kobe Payne.
Yeah, Kobe Payne, Painkiller. He's been trying a little bit. They tried last year. I watch him too, and I know that he's driven
Yeah.
to the point that it's just, he knows healing. That's all he knows.
I mean, he was on as close as you can get last year. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
It was just
He was
within.
I think he was on Suicide Watch. or
Oh
something
man,
like that.
I
Shit with all
felt.
the-
I can say what I want, but I just feel like the PRC just dropped the ball in that situation. They went back and forth, back and forth. Poor Pete. I mean, I feel bad for both those guys at that moment, but it is what it is. Worked out, and so he's
Yeah.
back.
I can remember there was years, if you missed track, there was a year we went to 101, and I didn't make him that year, maybe, or something, because
But I feel like this is the professional rodeo situation. You should have a card
Yes.
that you go beep boop when you show up, and it says count it or don't count this rodeo.
Yeah.
It should be so easy. I mean,
and even then it was worse because we'd stop at payphones,
And call in,
yeah,
yeah.
call in and shit. But
and then act like you're somebody else to try to get a trade. And I've heard
Exactly.
some stories.
exactly.
Jonathan Torres, Florida.
Yeah, Florida kid, him and his brother had done well, and then Jonathan
They split up.
kind of split up for whatever reason. Brothers might need to do that at a point but I don't think there's nothing against them like the Yekwo brothers, JC and LJ. But just finding another Nick somewhere else, and that's kind of what happened. With Buddy Hawkins and that JC boy and this boy we're talking about. It's time to do something different, and it was successful.
Buddy Hawkins.
Buddy Hawkins, Buddy Two Toes Hawkins. He don't miss.
Mm,
Another driven guy.
yeah,
I can see. There was times I'd be over there at a roping in Oklahoma in Adair, and there was Buddy where he was throwing loops on a sawhorse or always throwing loops somewhere
yeah,
where someone else his age wasn't.
yeah.
And guess what's happened?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I watched like a little documentary, and he has like his whole family with them, and
Yeah.
they go all
Yeah.
places. That's really cool. We got old vet Travis Graves.
Yeah, one of my favorite healers of all. Another solid inside business guy. I don't know if he patterned himself after anyone else, but he heals the way I like him to heal. I like for you to get to the inside and make sure. But yeah, he's a solid veteran. Maybe not on his way out, but he's spent as many years as one really kind of wants to in the deal.
Yeah.
I hope he has a successful finals this year more than anyone. But Travis Graves, if he gets him spun, Travis Graves ropes feet.
He's 13th going in. So, you know, then we have Hunter. Hunter, what's his last name?
It's Hunter Coke.
All
right, so
you
he's from
said
Vernon, Texas. Yeah, he's from Vernon, Texas. 3-time NFR qualifier. Yeah, got 600 some odd thousand one career earnings up to this point. That says something for itself. He's young in his career. His family's good people from Vernon, so I know that pretty much, he was one of those, not a prodigy, but he was a boy that was just grew up and raised around roping, and he was one that, nowadays there's more probably going to make great ropers because that's just they're around it, they see it, when they visualize it, they take it back with them, and then boom, here's a kid like Hunter. Hunter ropes feet good, and I heard he was a really good gentleman. I can't wait to meet him.
Like guys like that with family members that are in the industry. We talked to Steve and about Nikki and stuff. Like every opportunity, like it's second nature. It's like that's what you do. That's what you do for a living. Even he was telling us Nikki's made like over $150,000-$200,000 since he's 14 years old.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. We talk about Denton Dunning and the little Camelot boy too, but Nikki's right in there with him. I mean, there's certain kids that you're going to see shine.
Catch Kelton, you got to throw him in there.
Catch him. But the Nicky Northcott, he's no bullshit.
No.
Yeah, he's no bullshit.
And then we have last but not least, Paul Leaves.
All right, now jumping from a Jade Corcool that I think is mechanically or as fundamentally fucking correct as they get healing, I think Paul Eves is right there with him. I think Paul Eves heals pretty. Paul Eves is a catcher. Probably, if it's not for and I don't pick favorites, but because I like Jake Marvin Long, I want him to win one. He's one of my favorites because it goes back family wise for a while, and I want him to do good. And he's a great kid.
Yeah.
So, I'm picking him for sure. I guess I would roll with him if I had to pick a favorite. Or Paul Eves and Eric Rogers or whomever he's roping with, I think is going to be strong in the average.
Yeah.
Because they're smarter ropers, and I think if something's not right, Paul's either going to wait a jump or he's going to go a jump earlier.
Yeah.
Most of the time a jump earlier.
Because Eric's, Rogers going to put it, he's going to do the same shot every time.
Yeah.
Like he's
he knows
Mr. Consistent.
Those guys have been there before and know the start, which there's no harder place to heal. I'll say that because, your headers, you want to keep them straight is fast there. And then about the time that you keep them straight, these motherfuckers are getting it on them nowadays and just leaving you kind of with your britches pulled down. And that's kind of what it was. But if you can keep one straight and they do their job and then you can find a position where you're not late, but to the left is not really that good.
Because when they throw rope and you're late, that's a bad combo.
Yeah, and like I said, we were talking about Nick Sartain earlier, a great friend, but he was doing that so quick. He'd get it on him so quick. No matter how fast the healer threw, even prior to crossfiring right there, he was still in the wall because it's just not enough room.
Yeah,
not enough room.
My team, I mean, Eric and Paul, but man, I'm going for Colin. I want Colin, for the 12 years off and Clay Smith. I can't get nothing good things to say about him, but
he's wonderful. I do too. Like I said, I know that the three powerhouse teams that we talked about first, especially with their headers,
absolutely
unreal.
Absolutely.
And then again, like I said, I want Clint Summers to do the job that he's expected to do. And I want Marvin Long to clean it up.
Are you roping anywhere in Vegas? Any of the World Series or anything like that?
No Vegas. I'm not going to rope in Vegas. I hadn't even really kind of planned on it because coming from the Northeast, I didn't get to rope as much or practice as much, so not necessarily an excuse. But no, I'm not quite yet because mainstream guys, I want to rope in the open ropings.
Yeah.
Being not around them, you don't get the great partners, as you should. Not an excuse, but I'm going to start roping more when it gets busier over there around Wickenburg, and I'm going to get out there and do some slides because I need to stay sharp.
I watched you a couple, maybe 2-3 years ago and downtown. And I
Yeah.
watch you in some of the places around there. I've seen you.
The slide's good. I don't mind him at all. But with my number, it's still you're going to start with handicap. And I'm not saying, but golly, it just seemed like with that handicap out here in the 12 or whatever slides they were, that there was everybody. It seemed like the jackpots were getting faster too. But I enjoy it. I like the
Man,
challenge.
them slides are something to see. I mean, the cattle are getting it. I mean,
That's what I
it's
noticed
tough.
out here. When I got to Wickenburg 3 years ago, I noticed that I've never had to maybe really make my horse run that hard anywhere, like from the feist on. I don't because every jackpot I went to just seems like I'm giving this much all I can get to. And when the fucking corner happens, you better be throwing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not going to win nothing.
Yeah, we're gonna go out to Vegas. We're gonna podcast the first couple days. Me and the crew, and then we have a booth inside the Cowboy Christmas inside there. So then the rest of the week, you, couple other guys, Benny, and we're gonna have some booth set up, and you're gonna do some podcasting for us out there, and we're gonna get. We've had a lot of people wanting you back, and when's the next one? When's the next one? So I was like, man, we want to have you part of the crew. We want to have you part of our team. We want to go through Vegas and see how it all works out. But you're gonna have your own show.
Yeah.
Tolleson-Mack. We haven't figured out the name quite yet, but it's gonna be something entertaining for you.
I
So
did too. I mean, I was almost like a Toyota commercial after I talked to you on the phone the other day because we talked quite a bit the last few weeks. He said, "Yeah, I was just thinking about that," which I had already thought about it. And then Bryce there, who's semi-introvert, we had talked about it a little
Yeah.
bit, and he's quiet. And I know, so we visited, but it's like, yeah, that'd be cool. So then when you called and told me that, I'm like, hey, I got my own. So yeah, man, I'm excited because I think we can grow. I think that people want to know this side of the story.
Yeah.
I think that I'm not saying anything wrong with the other, but I think it has a tendency that if when they're talking it the way they're talking it, it's redundant and
Yeah.
bland,
Mm-hmm.
and we need a little more of a zippy story.
Exactly.
So
We're gonna have our main cast, me, Caesar, Brandon, but Britt's gonna have his own get up, his own deal. So it's kind of I like your stories, and Caesar's because you guys can talk. We're gonna ask the guys the same old shit, because we
Right.
don't know them at the level that you do. You knew everybody, damn near everybody on the list, and their dads and uncles and brothers, and seen
Right.
here and there. So that's what the viewers want. They want to hear about that 13-foot gate, and if you can't, what's that quote I heard? If you can't, what?
If you can't fucking hawk them,
Don't
don't fucking try. Don't fucking try.
Yes, sir. So people want to see more of that
Yeah.
that side of you. So
Yeah.
we got T-shirts coming with your face on it and everything. You can just wait.
Here we go, boys. It's going to be good. But I'm glad to have the opportunity. No shit. I think it's going to be a good deal. And I think the vehicle itself is what we need because I think people want to push this thing and they want to hear these stories. And there's nobody else out there really doing what
Yeah.
we're going to be doing.
And I like to be on the edge a little bit. You know what I mean? I want to. I want to push the envelope, and to find people that are like-minded, like myself, and that kind of lane is what I'm looking for. So.
Yeah, we're gonna get some good guests, and we're gonna roll on. And in this 2025, we're gonna
Yep.
fucking rock. We're gonna do good.
We Benny's already got us a big lineup already. I think we already got confirmed like 11 or 12 guests for the first
Nice.
couple of days that we're there. And like last year, I think we did like 11 guests in 2 days. So it's an hour. So I mean, we did like 5 hours worth of one day and 6 hours the next. And people, it's something to wake up and get going and talk people and kind of switch.
I'm fired up. I'm ready.
This is the first time I've ever been just me and a guest, or doing it without someone else. So I mean, it's even today's been a little different, but
We're gonna keep him. He didn't do too bad a job. We'll keep him around.
because I like to be behind the scenes. It's crazy, but
Yeah, man, we're gonna drag it out of him. We're gonna bring fun stuff to this platform, and I think that's
absolutely.
what we need.
I'm gonna do all my podcasting, get that out of the way. Then I'm gonna come home for 6-7 days. Then I'm gonna go back and rope, and that way when I'm over there roping, I ain't worried about nothing but catching 2 feet,
man,
hawking them. Is it saying?
That's right.
Yeah,
If you
hawk
can't
'em.
fucking hawk them,
Yep.
don't
yep.
fucking try.
I'm entered in the 9 and the 8 over there, so
Nice.
I'm excited. I got Adrian Escalante Senior in the 9 and Juan Corral Senior in the 8. So I'm a Yabla Espanol. This is my raza over there. So
Yeah.
shout out those guys. We're
Well, I'm gonna make sure I know when your numbers are. I'm gonna come watch.
hell yeah. Bry's going, and he went last year with us. We had a good time.
gonna be good.
It was fun. So.
Bry probably needs a little break right now too.
Yeah, he's been out there in Oklahoma busting ass.
right there in Pryor.
Yeah.
Coleman Proctor and
Yeah.
myself. Yeah.
Yeah, and I talked to Bry this morning about it, and yeah, Bry's my people. So we got to have his ass on. I mean, I don't want to listen to me. I say you're the 1994 Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
I mean that's something.
We got to surgically remove a conversation from it.
Yeah, but I mean that's something. I mean
That's
that
really something.
fuck yeah. He's like I set the table with Cody Owen that year. I was like oh woo. Yeah. But we would like if you guys would, hit us up and let us know some guests that, Britt can interview
Yeah,
or
just
stuff like that. Cause
any
we need
ideas.
help.
Yeah, any ideas. We're ready for them. And any direction you want to hear something, we're going to do it that way too.
Absolutely.
I think that with a little sit down and putting our heads together, that we're going to make what's already a pretty good program that much fucking better.
Yep. Yes, sir.
So thank you
Cool.
guys.
Well, we appreciate it. And for everybody here at Tolleson-Mack, Brandon, Caesar, now Britt,
Yeah, boys.
we want to thank you guys.
That's right. December, we're going to see you at the big show, the Mac.
Yep.
Come on out. Stop by our booth. Come see me and Benny Mo. Say hello to us. We're going to have merch and everything else we need. So
Yes, sir.
let's get it.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, bro. Thank you.